13th of March. For our agenda tonight, we're going to discuss the town waste collection contract. John?
Thank you. The bids closed on March 1st. It took us some time to get the information together. I had a computer glitch last week, and it's still continuing, but we were able to put together a spreadsheet that provides you with a cross-tabulation, so to speak, a decision matrix of the bidders who responded to what sections of the IFB. A-plus removal, mass hauling, sent us a letter indicating that they were not bidding, and therefore you see that mass hauling has all zeros across the matrix. Greater New Bedford Regional Refuse Management District was the lowest disposal tipping fee per ton, $63. Covanta was at $75. And Waste Solutions, we'll just talk about tipping fee for a second. We'll go back and talk about the rest. Tipping fee was for Waste Solution was $69.99. Troop Waste Solutions was $71. Waste Management, that number is $74, not $7,400. And Allied Waste was $66. Capital Waste was $74, and Russell Disposal was $80. The way some of the bidders bid, some bid with certain conditions and others bid without conditions. If we look to the far left column, you'll see that solid waste disposal bid, which is a base bid, and in the second column is the extended bid for 3 years. The solid waste bid numbers came in somewhat favorable. Troop Waste Solutions was $259 with a 3-year extended bid of $777,000. Waste Solutions came in at $289,950. And an extended bid of $869,850 with the condition that pricing includes disposal costs for municipal and school buildings estimated to reduce disposal costs by 35,000 or 500 tons per year. WSI commercial vehicle will service. Mike Del Petrie and Sons came in at $357,600. An extended 3-year of $1,072,800. And I think that that was $48 a ton. Excuse me, their tonnage was, where the heck was their tonnage? Tipping fee. I don't think they bid on the tipping fee. It doesn't appear as though they did. Waste Management came in at $74 a ton, not $77,400, and they had a $361,000 base bid and a $1,083,000 3-year bid. Allied Waste was $369,950 with a $1,094,850 bid. Extended bid. Capital Waste was $478,000 with a $1.43554 extended 3-year bid. Capital Paper Recycling, if you look over to the far right of the spreadsheet, their bid was just for single stream revenue sharing formula of $12 a ton. Based on rebates will originate from the benchmark OMB, yellow sheet, New England region, mixed paper grade number 2, high side, minus $40 processing fee for all volumes. The estimate is $12 per ton revenue back to the town for recycled items. E.L. Harvey came in at 634, 421 with a $1.9 million and change extended 3-year bid. Russell Disposal was an interesting bid. They bid at $400,000 and increased increments of $12,000. So they bid like in the second year $412,000 and $424,000 for the total 3-year bid. They also bid an extension, which I didn't note here, because their extension went back to the original bid amount of $400,000 in year 4 of the bid, which didn't make sense to me, but that's how they bid. We also received alternative bids from Troop Waste Services. They bid a 3-year, which includes the bid cost for the carts, and Troop Waste Services bid a 5-year contract inclusive of the carts as well. Everything else obviously remains the same. The numbers are lower for a 5-year as opposed to a 3-year with the carts. In my analysis and discussion with the board, I sent an email along with it that basically outlined pretty much some of the scenarios. The town has yet to make a final decision on the bid itself. Most of the paperwork is in order for all of the viable, responsible bidders, and the purpose for me tonight is to share that information with you and to tell you that it appears as to whether we buy the barrels or that the barrels are provided to the town by the contractor. And Troop Waste Services was not the only one that wasn't bid the inclusiveness of the carts. E.L. Harvey bid cost for the barrels and a 2% increase in year 2 and 3. Allied Waste Services bid includes the carts for both recycling and waste collection, which is the same for Troop Waste Services. Mike Del Petrie and Sons Trucking had a 2% increase in year 2 and in year 3. And that is the bids as they have been received with a fair amount of analysis. The amount of the appropriation that we have in the budget for the first year will suffice for the town to purchase the carts. The carts that the town will purchase, and as you look at the bids for the cost per barrel, the reason why I included the cost per barrel for 64 and 96 is that I wanted to benchmark what the state bid list was for carts. There was some prior discussion that the carts would be overly expensive, and they are to a degree. We're proposing 8,200 barrels. The town, through the mass bid, assembled and with a computer chip, scanning chip, is $43.34 a cart. We are eligible for a minimum of $10 grant for the carts and up to a $15 grant for the carts, because the town is proposing a plan that reduces curbside waste by barrel. And so we would be eligible for, and the $43.34 number does not include reimbursement for the carts, either $10 or $15. In my scenario, I took what I considered to be the worst case scenario, where we would have a tonnage reduction of 800 tons under the new system. We would show a profit with a 1 million, not a profit, a savings with the $1,015,185 appropriation of approximately $84,000 in year 1. In year 2, The carts go away, it's a one-time cost, and the cost of the carts will no longer be part of the bid. Now, we've estimated the carts with reimbursement at the $10 range, I think, of approximately,
33, 34.
excuse me?
Would be 33, 34 each.
Yes, but I'm talking about the total cost. Would be $273,388 for the barrels with the $10 rebate. Next year, that number will be reduced because we're purchasing the barrels once and only once. And so that number means that there would be a savings off the bat in year 2 of the contract as a result. And we do believe and anticipate that there will be a reduction in tonnage. We're using 4,171.40 tons at curbside, which was the latest figures that we had received.
What year was that for?
Excuse me?
What year was that for?
That was for 2011 calendar year. So it's 6 months into the fiscal year, the current fiscal year that we're in. It doesn't include January and February, but it includes January through December for for 2011 calendar year. And that's where we stand. I think that it was a successful bid process. I think the town will no doubt reap the benefits of savings, and we will proceed with the appropriation of $1,015,185. We'll purchase the barrels. We'll commence and begin the program, and there will be no additional cost to the residents of Abington.
Is your, the tonnage figure on the high side or low side? Low side, it's low, right?
Well,
I know you're based on the calendar year, but it's,
if I look at FY10, it was
Right.
5,100 tons, so I took
Okay.
the lower number, and I reduced it by an 800-ton estimate. I
Right.
figure 800-ton was a reasonable estimate reduction as you're going from 3 barrels to 2 barrels at curbside. And you're also increasing the capacity for recycling, and
Okay.
that's the key. The key is that as you increase recycling, your tonnage numbers, although they will not correspondingly decrease, your tonnage numbers for waste, solid waste, should go down.
okay. And the barrels we're talking about are that we'll be purchasing, we purchase from the state?
No,
No,
we
we
will
purchase from
purchase them from a
private-
vendor,
from a
but
vendor.
we have a state bid price.
And-
The barrels have a 10-year warranty.
Okay. I don't know much about the barrels.
I'll bring them in. I
No,
have,
we talked about a code, there's a code in, so does the code get assigned, as the household gets dropped off, they get a code, is that how that works?
the code will be put to each barrel.
As
The
it's
code
dropped
will
off to the house,
correspond
okay.
to the house.
All right, so there's a code
There will be a
corresponds to
scan
the house,
code.
okay.
That scan code, if we decide to go with this process of automated recycling, we can weigh the barrels at curbside, and the refuse will be automatically dumped into the barrel. That will coincide with the house, the
Okay.
address for which the barrel is assigned.
And we did mention in our previous discussions that the residents would have the option, if they so choose, to purchase a second 64-gallon barrel. And that was based on the cost of the barrel and then the total cost of the trash divided out so that that second barrel would pay for itself, right?
Well, yes,
Is that
the
how-
the first year, it would be the cost of the barrel plus the tonnage.
The tonnage.
The
And we
estimated
estimate the
tonnage.
tonnage by the households.
The second year, it would be the tonnage only.
Right, because the barrel's paid for,
is-
so you
is
only,
purchased.
and that would be done on a sticker basis, that would be applied to the barrel.
In my experience, very few homes
Go for a second
go
barrel.
for a second barrel.
Okay.
We probably wouldn't want to encourage it. I think that we would want to encourage more
I
recycling.
was gonna say, that the other thing we talked about is the option of giving the residents a larger
96.
recyclable barrel.
That's
which-
correct.
Which they would be allowed to request
Yes,
for,
and
right?
and we will provide that.
And we would provide that so that the citizens could get even a larger container to get recyclables to put away.
That's
If
correct.
they so choose to want a bigger barrel that would help the town also by having more recyclables go out with a bigger barrel.
There are a certain number of homes where there is more than just one family living in the home.
We have 1 to
You
3
may have-
residences,
You
right?
may have an in-law, an outlaw, maybe a couple of other people living at the house, but whoever you have are going to generate more trash than normal, so they're going to look for a larger container for recycling, so they can recycle more
Mhm.
and deposit less into the waste stream.
Okay,
And so we will analyze those cases on a case-by-case basis, review the request, look at their tonnage number, their disposal numbers for the first month or so, and then upgrade to the larger barrel for recycling.
another question, John, would be talking about the total cost for the tonnage, for disposing. I understand in your explanation when you came to meet with us, you were talking about how the town would control, correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct.
How the town would control where we would tip our trash, wherever we're gonna tip it, and we would tip to the most favorable place for us to get the best.
Which is Greater New Bedford Regional Refuse.
And that's how we would direct the company that has the contract to take our tipping to that point.
That's correct.
Because that's the price we're getting. Is that price locked in for 1 year, or is that price locked in? Was this contract if we chose, Greater New Bedford Regional Refuse Management,
It would be for the term of the contract.
term of the contract, okay, so that's,
And we would enter into an agreement with them, with Greater New Bedford for acceptance of our
just so the
waste at
citizens
that.
know that we are paying $80 a ton now.
That's
So that is a significant decrease in that.
About a $17
Yeah,
decrease.
so that's a significant decrease.
And that's a savings, no
That's a
question.
savings to the town without a question. Any of the board members have any questions? Anybody? If not, I'd like to ask questions. I mean, I know you asked for, and some representatives of the waste collection community are here, and also some citizens are here. Can we take comments from them, or?
I think since I am the Chief Procurement Officer, I can certainly take questions from the audience.
That's,
But I will not take questions from the proposed bidders.
Okay.
I'm not going to get into a dialogue
okay,
of my bid is better than somebody else's bid.
okay.
That's town's decision
town's
to make.
decision to make, I understand.
Bob,
Yes,
just one thing, maybe you could clarify, since this is being televised, that the Board of Health no longer has the responsibility of choosing the trash hauler. That's been past practices, so I think you could probably explain it.
in a brief shortness, the last trash contract that we had, the town, the Board of Health at that time was involved in the procurement of obtaining the trash contract. When the town manager, the previous town manager, not John, but the previous Phil Warren, stepped in, he took control of the finalizing of the decision on where we would go for the last contract and finalize that contract. Since then, it's been a much clearer picture. John has worked over the last 3 years to make it clear that the chief procurement officer in the town of Abington, and that responsibility lies on the shoulders of the town manager, and he will make those decisions. So officially, as of this contract, we have as duly representatives of the town, turned over that fiscal responsibility to the town manager. We have act as assistants to John in what he's done. John has asked for some input and has met with us, but it is clear to us now that John will make the final decision on what bid will be accepted and how that gets done. Am I misquoting that at all? I just want to make sure.
That's pretty accurate.
I just want to make sure that's clear. So if you don't mind, I'll ask anybody in the audience, other than the bidders, if they have any questions, feel free to raise your hand and come on up and ask your question. Does anyone have any questions? Please come up. Just state your name and your street address, please.
I have to go before the microphone?
Yes, please.
I don't do microphone sign.
Oh, okay.
No, I just don't. Sorry.
All right.
Right in the back.
Tom, you want to come up? Again, just state your name and your street residence, please.
Tom Dion, 27 Mulberry Drive, and I look at this, I mean, it's a lot of good information, but I guess as a citizen, as I understand it, for your budget, for our budget, 2012, the town's budget, what you're recommending, I think you have up $1,043,000 for trash.
$1,015,185.
Okay, so again, when I look at this matrix, what's the final number to pick up the solid waste, to do the recycling and to pay for the barrels?
The town has yet to make a final decision, but if we were to look at the scenario, okay, we would look at a scenario that would combine recycling and curbside waste collection at $515,000 combined. We would then look at tonnage at $262,798 for a grand total of $1,051,186. That is without assuming a reduction in tonnage, which this program is designed to achieve at
Right.
curbside. So if we were to look at that with no tonnage reduction, you're looking at a difference of $36,001.20 as to what is currently budgeted.
So said another way, this would come in, as it stands now, 36,000 below the 1,015,000 that you
No,
have.
no, what I'm saying is that the difference from what we budgeted to what is estimated to come in at with no reduction in tonnage
Right.
of $36,001 above what is budgeted. However, we're making a conservative
above.
assumption that we're going to reduce 4,171.40 tons at curbside by approximately 800 tons. If we do that, and we're able to achieve that, which I think we will, then that tonnage number will drop to $212,398.20, which would be a difference of $50,400 on the 800 tons, reducing the that number and actually giving us an estimated 84,000, excuse me, which would give us a number that would be well below the $1,015,185.
Right. So it's going to come in right around the 1,015,000, probably less if
I
your
estimated-
projections of, less solid waste,
Yeah, I
and more
estimated,
recycling being picked
I
up.
estimated that we could save between $84,000 to $100,000 the first year.
Right. The second
By
question,
purchasing the barrels.
right,
Now, we could go another way. We can have the barrels purchased by the hauler, and we would automatically realize a savings of $84,000 without calculating an additional savings for tonnage reduction.
so what you're feeling now, though, is it's a better proposition to buy it first year, and then those costs are
Well, here's what
basically incurred, and you don't have to worry about it in year 2 and 3?
Yes, but that's an advantage, but there's a more calculated advantage to the town, and that is that the barrels are not owned by the town. So in year 3, if we decide, or year 4, if we decide to go out again to bid, there's an issue of
Who owns them?
who owns them,
Yeah.
and so therefore, it gives the town the flexibility to make a determination as to who the hauler will be. Let's say hauler A that the town chooses is not meeting the performance standards of the contract for some reason. The trucks are dirty, they break down, all these issues. So what we would want to do is to find another hauler. If you are tied into the ownership issue with the hauler, then you're really tied into the hauler as well. There would have to be some agreement if we decide to go that route, where at the end of 3 years, the end of 5 years, the barrels become town property. And then therefore, we can then go out. And those are things that we can negotiate and resolve as we get closer to finalizing.
Right. In my understanding is we didn't go out and take a look at the existing system we have today and go out and solicit bids for the coming year, so we have a comparison between the system and the existing system?
Well, it's comparing apples and oranges. This is an automated system. I do know that the automated bid numbers at curbside came in more favorably, because you've got, less people on the truck.
Right,
Your employment number, your employee numbers are less at curbside. So we did not go out to bid, and actually, there was another reason, and that is that, it is my belief that the current system is not as efficient and will not generate the amount of savings that we could potentially see by going to the automated system.
right. Yeah, I think I was coming at it, I totally agree with that, but it's my understanding that the tipping fees have come down between this year and last year, and I'm just curious as a resident, if we stuck with the existing system, could we come in significantly under the $1 million budget that we have and take that savings to sort of put it back into our operating budgets?
Well, I'm a little more patient with that. I think in year 2 and 3, at least 282,000 would go into the savings that would reduce our tonnage in the second year of the program. We make a capital expenditure, we invest in the barrels. Those barrels are really owned by the town, and we realize the savings in year 14. Incidentally, in year 14, we have a funding cliff with respect to the school system of approximately $300,000. If we're going to save $286,000 in year 2 by not purchasing those barrels, then we may have indeed found a source, a revenue source for that potential funding cliff in the year 14,
Right.
FY14. So that's the reason.
My last question is just for the residents, comparing where we're going with the new system versus the existing, what are the sort of, let me say, takeaways or weaknesses versus, what are residents getting in lieu? For example, my understanding is in today's system, you get 3 30-gallon, you get 95 gallons of solid waste capacity a year. Now you're going down to 65.
64.
64, split hairs. But
But you're getting a larger barrel for recycling.
okay,
You're going to get a 64-gallon container for recycling.
right,
The program is designed to encourage an increase in recycling and a decrease in tonnage at curbside. We're also adding 2 services that currently do not exist at curbside in this program. And one would be Christmas tree removal to our location on, what's the name of it?
Groveland Street?
Groveland, I'm sorry. As well as 2 yard waste pickups
right.
in the year.
So there is
You're
less,
getting 2 barrels.
there's less capacity though for solid waste from where we are today. How about as far as, are there any residents that are currently getting curbside pickup that are going to be knocked off with this particular program?
The individuals that will not be serviced would be the current 208 of the 900-plus condo units that the town has. In other words, there was some deal made with a developer in town some years ago, and as a result, there were 208 units of condos that were picked up, but there's about 908 units of condo housing. The balance of that was never picked up, it was never
Right.
parked. So we're going to take those 208, and that's part of the 800 estimated tons that we're going to save, which is approximately
Right.
200 tons. We're going to sit with the condo association owners, and we're going to negotiate a favorable pickup rate for them in the town with the hauler that
Right.
we decide to go with.
And they seem to be fine with that?
I don't know, I think they will be.
Yeah.
I'm hoping, but,
Right.
we'll see.
I'm assuming the schools and the town offices are included in this program?
Yes.
Okay. And has there been
We
any?
got to get the schools to recycle a little bit
Yeah,
better.
well, that was my
From a
question, is there
cleaning
any, assumptions you
perspective.
made that the recycling, rates will increase with, whether it's the schools or any of the town
Well,
buildings?
recycling is a habitual action. And right now, the kitchen folks at the schools are not doing as good a job as they could in recycling. So we're going to look at developing a program with the assistance of the health agent to try to increase not only recycling tonnage generated by the schools, but also to try to do something in a composting fashion with the food that, the
Sure,
excess food that's
sure.
thrown away.
I just wanted to mention that last week I went to the Hingham Public Schools with Bob Bowie, who is the senior, he's the director of security and custodial facilities for the school, and actually watched the elementary school program and the high school program, and what they have is a weight station right now for their waste that is very easily to be put together for Abington. I'm also looking into getting recyclable type of trays rather than styrofoam trays. And then our current hauler Waste Solutions has allowed me to tell the schools that we can recycle the plastic utensils right now, which is also a help. So I have been meeting with we've had one monthly meeting, we have another one coming in April, but it's sort of a project I'm trying to do right now, of trying to bring down the trash and build up recycling. Because right now, I mean, prior to this, they weren't recycling anything in the lunchrooms, and I was quite concerned about that.
Right.
The other issue that I think is important to realize is that there is a potential for revenue sharing on the recycling side that wasn't in the prior contract.
Right, right.
And I think that is going to provide us with some additional revenue in
Right.
return. Again, it's an attempt by the town to try to take a service and make it more efficient,
Right.
and to have some payback in relationship to that service. I have an extensive amount of experience in this type of waste collection program. I've been using it for 10 years in Mansfield. It started there maybe 10, 11 years ago now. At first, people were up in arms, no one wanted change, it was a difficult process. You go take that service away from them today and they'll dismember you. They like the service, it's a great service, and everyone from our senior population to our families with kids are very much in favor of that system.
Right.
And I think we'll be a leading cutting-edge type community in relationship to how we handle our
Right.
disposal options.
Yeah. I always have questions, but yet last night I thought it was a good presentation on potentially becoming a green community in Abington. And would this go to that in the sense if we can improve our recycling? I mean, could that, help us
It'd be
achieve
certainly
that,
something that we would like to
certification?
submit, as part of our efforts
Yeah.
to become a greener community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Susan Brennan, 197 Orchard Lane. I love this disposal fee, $63. I was hoping for 65, 63 is terrific. Now, where is Greater New Bedford Regional? In New Bedford, Mass? Okay. So, you've separated the contract, disposal, and trucking. The trucking piece will stay the same, even though they're going to go further than...
Well, we're going to sit down and negotiate that with the Clovis fitter. We're hoping that that's the case. As you know, in the bid itself, it also included fuel charges, so there are no fuel charge proposals with this contract, or with this bid, I should say.
So the truckers bid that number knowing that they would take the trash wherever this town designated.
Well, that's in the bid.
Beautiful, beautiful. Can you explain to me what the chip on the barrel is?
The chip on the barrel is a scanning chip.
Okay.
which associates the barrel ownership with an address.
Okay,
So if you live at 83 Groveland Street, you would take that, and that barrel was scanned when it's deposited, then it would identify the barrel with the address.
and that's what it's for, or you said like for weighing or for future?
Well, and not for weighing, the chip does not weigh anything. The hydraulic arms, if we decide to do that, can weigh the barrels, but that's something we would have to talk to the hauler about.
Okay, so the chip is just to earmark it for the home that it was designated to?
That's
And then it's just like a printout, a computer printout that says barrel 1 goes to XYZ home?
Well, it also has a number. The barrel have, you know, a 10-digit number.
Yeah,
That number in the chip will identify that barrel at 43 Groveland Street.
okay, and that's just to have a database of the barrels where they are?
That's correct.
Okay, perfect. Then, the second barrel, could you explain the second barrel for trash? Again, to me?
If there's a need for a second barrel, the
Okay.
barrel would incorporate the cost of the barrel
Mm-hmm,
plus the cost of tipping for that second barrel in the first year. In the second year, the cost would be just on the disposal of the tipping.
okay, so, and that's turned over to the homeowner?
Yeah.
So if I wanted a second barrel, and do I pay for the barrel and then I pay for the tipping?
Yeah.
Okay, and how is that implemented?
Again, it would be on a case-by-case basis, you know, we would want the homeowner to try the program for the first 2 or 3 months.
Sure.
If they can make it with the number of barrels that they have, that's what we would encourage. Any additional barrels would have a tipping fee charge as well as a barrel charge. The barrel charge is for the first year.
Yeah.
The tipping fee would be for every year thereafter.
We have to
okay.
pay that every year, right?
Yes.
Right.
And that's weighed, that's what the chip comes into helping assist that process. So when they dump it, then that bill will go to that homeowner for that tipping, for that weight.
Yes.
Okay, good. So the second barrel, the toters,
Who does that billing?
The contractor. In the bid, the contractor is going to, we're not going to collect any money for stickers or anything. It's going to be through the contractor.
so the contractor will bill the homeowner, or the resident, whatever, yeah, condos.
Collect the
or
money in
whatnot.
front.
Okay,
John, I just want to clarify something. In our current trash regs, when you have a house with an in-law apartment, if it's considered a legal in-law apartment, that's considered a two-family house. So they might not necessarily need to get a second barrel because that household would get two each anyway. So I just
Okay.
want to clarify that.
Yeah, and that may be, and if that's the case, then the barrels are provided in accordance to the
Yes,
regulation.
correct.
To that point, we just want to make sure that people understand that if you have a single-family or a two-family or a three-family, each unit gets a trash barrel and a recycle barrel. And so
64 gallons.
64-gallon trash barrel, 60-gallon recyclable barrel. Of course, if you're eager beagers and you want a bigger barrel, we'll get you a larger barrel because we want more recycling. And the town will take the 64 and give them the 96, I guess, John?
That's correct.
So I guess
Yeah.
that's how it would be done.
Yeah.
So we do encourage that, you know, if a three-family homeowner could utilize the 96, instead of putting out 364s, we wouldn't mind having the 96 and the 64. I don't know if it matters or not, but I just want the people to know in the town that they would get a barrel for trash and a barrel for recycling per unit, up to a three-family, no more than that.
I would, yeah, and I agree, and I would recommend that the homeowner try the program for 3 months.
Okay?
And, you know, stop by, call us, make an appointment, come down and see me. I have an open door policy, or Sharon. We will work with you to try to meet your recycling needs, as well as your trash needs. It is not going to be our position to advocate that homeowners get a second trash barrel,
Okay.
but that if, for some reason, they cannot abide by 64-gallon container, then they would have to pay for that,
Okay,
as we
as
discussed.
we discussed, and there's a fixed formula for that, for the homeowner to pay that fee.
That's correct.
Then we don't have to worry about that. Is there anybody else in the audience that has questions?
Are all residents been heard?
Have all residents been heard that want to speak?
Mass DEP, I have a few questions and comments.
Sure, please come up and just state your name, please, and where you're from.
Okay, my name's Janine Delaney, I'm with Mass DEP. I am a municipal assistance coordinator. Work for a region of municipalities, and Abington is one of my municipalities. Okay, my first question revolves around the chart that was provided. The haulers that are identified as having most beneficial prices for the different variables are highlighted in yellow.
That's correct.
Do the yellow highlights represent the selected vendor, or is that just showing which vendors have the most preferable prices?
Preferable price.
Preferable prices.
It doesn't necessarily mean that that vendor is going to
Is the selected vendor.
selected.
And have the
Chances are
other,
far better
yeah.
than somebody who doesn't have any hole.
And have all of these vendors met the other criteria? Okay. All righty. I wanted to talk a little bit about the grants, the DEP grants for the containers, the wheel carts. In order for the town to be eligible for the grants, the town must take ownership of the carts at the end of the contract. Okay, so that's understood.
Well, we're going to purchase them outright, I think.
You're going to purchase them outright rather
So
than
we're gonna
than the
own them.
haulers? Okay. Okay, and another thing about the $10 to $15 range, things are a little different this year. $10 is the maximum for a three-barrel limit. 15 is for towns that have a one-barrel limit on trash, and for a two-barrel limit, which is what a 64-gallon container would be considered, we may come up with a middle figure, either $12.50 or $13. Okay, so without a 32-gallon limit on trash, the 15 isn't available if Abington is awarded the grant. Now, as far as the extra barrel that residents may choose to purchase for trash, is that actually going to be weighed, or will an estimate of what a 64-gallon barrel?
It'll be an estimate based on
Okay.
what the existing tonnage is at curbside generated by
Okay,
previous tonnage numbers.
so it will not actually be weighed in the field, okay.
That's an option that we would explore with the
With the-
vendor.
Okay, with the chips and sophisticated systems, okay,
Well, even now, take pictures.
okay.
Can I
I
ask a
don't know how
question?
good the pictures look. as far as
Bob,
trash
can I
is
ask a question?
Can we let her finish?
It was
You have
about.
a question to her?
Yeah, it was
So the
about what
question
they
for
just
me,
said.
okay.
Yes.
And maybe I didn't hear it right. Did you just ask about the second barrel and how it would be weighed?
The second barrel for trash.
Right.
Yes,
And
it
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the answer from the town manager.
would be an estimate of
It
what...
would be an estimate based on the tonnage at curbside generated over
So-
the prior 12-month period.
It won't be the haulers doing the billing? Isn't that what we just heard?
No, this is dealing with the cost of the barrel itself.
Oh,
and
like
how we
$42.
Well, the $43.37 or whatever that cost is, we get a $10, bless you, rebate or whatever we get from the state, $12. That'll reduce the cost of the barrel. We're estimating the tonnage at curbside, because we're not, the question was, are we going to weigh the barrels for the second barrel? And not unless we end up working that out with the hauler. There are mechanisms that will weigh barrels at curbside as they're loading them and disposing of them.
So how,
But
it goes
let
back
me-
to that
let me
question.
finish. You let me finish. What we're going to do is make that estimate. The hauler is going to be responsible for the collection and ensuring that the homeowner pays for the second barrel and the sticker or whatever is issued. We haven't discussed that with the hauler at this point, but that's something
Oh,
we
I
will
thought you
work
said you
to
did.
do.
I thought the homeowners were going to be getting a separate bill from the haulers for the tonnage in that second barrel. Did I just not hear it
It would be
correctly?
a lump sum bill, I would imagine. They're not going to bill monthly. They would bill a lump sum bill. So if it's $80, $90, $120, whatever it was, for that second barrel, that's what it would cost.
I don't want to mislead, correct me if I'm wrong, John, I don't want to mislead the public. The cost, if you feel you need a second trash barrel, we have, and I believe this is the methodology, it's the first year, it's the cost of the, actual cost of the barrel, and then we're going to do a mean average of the total tonnage cost divided by the number of residents, come up with a dollar figure, like $52 or $60 or $73.
Whatever
that tonnage tipping fee, and that would be the cost for that year's fee for that, would be the cost of the barrel and the cost of the tipping for that year. Then next year, we would take an average of the previous year's total tonnage, divide that same cost, and the homeowner would only have to then pay that additional cost for the tipping of that barrel
That's correct.
as we go forward. And each year going forward during the 3-year contract, the company would manage that and then would divide the new bill, the new year for the third year over the last previous 12 months, come up with an average and bill them for that amount for that barrel, if that's what we so chose to do. Okay. I think, does that answer your
Yes.
question?
Thank you. I just wanted to be clear to the townspeople.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And another way some municipalities do it is just take the average of what a 64-gallon toter of trash weighs, do the math, multiply it by 52 weeks, and they pay that amount to have the barrel for the year.
And we may do that.
Yeah.
It depends. There's a number of different.
Yeah, there are
calculations.
many different ways to do it. Okay, let's see. In the length of the contract, what is 3 year with extensions?
With two 1-year extension options.
And again, for the municipality to be eligible for the grant, in the end, the municipality has to own the barrels. And
We will own that upfront.
And I did bring some literature to provide to you, the Board of Health folks, that show the different impacts of different waste reduction programs, and I included Abington over here. We have 35-gallon limit for trash, 64-gallon limit for trash, no trash limits. And before Abington went to the 3-bag system, they were pretty high in the no trash limit tonnage figures. And with their 3-barrel limit, they're higher than the 64-gallon limit. So this
So we're gonna
this
save-
program will save money. And so I brought some other charts too that show municipalities that have implemented programs and the dramatic decreases. The city of Newton, 28.8 reduction in trash, 31.5 reduction in trash, and increases in recycling. But as John said, not the same percentage of increases in recycling, but where the money is the trash and the reduction in trash. So I'll provide these to you to distribute. And that'll do it.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions of me?
I don't have I just had a comment that I would like to implement that before we felt that we had to give someone another barrel. I guess I would like to talk to the person and just see if they understand what is recycling and what you can recycle, because I think there's still a lot for education out there.
Well, and one of the things that we would like to do in coordination with whoever the contractor is, each of the toters have a hook inside, and that hook will contain an informational packet of what recycling is all about, what single-stream recycling is all about, what we consider to be recycled items in the town of Abington, as well as an explanation of the program itself. So each barrel will have an informational packet that would be hooked, so to speak, on the barrel, no pun intended.
The grants, is that a guarantee that because we are reducing our solid waste, the grant is pretty much 99% sure?
Well, I don't want to speak for DEP.
Okay.
Nothing is definite. It's likely.
Because of the
Abington has
trees.
been very active and very involved.
Beautiful,
Received a grant last year, and
beautiful.
we've been communicating. I've been communicating, Sharon's been
Well,
communicating with
I
the
purposely
Boston.
went down with Janine a couple
Oh,
weeks
I
ago.
was on the hook for this.
No, but I purposely went down with Janine on March 1st to a conference in Plymouth and sat right next to the person that does the grant piece and been communicating back and forth with her because she knows the minute these come out on April 13th, April 10th.
10th, yes.
Yeah, I will be applying for it.
Yes, and we should apply immediately
Yeah,
because we want to apply before the toters or the carts are invoiced.
Yeah.
That's important. They can be purchased ahead of time, but they cannot be invoiced until the application is submitted, but we'll be in communication. and get it done.
We talk a lot.
We do.
Yeah, yeah.
Anything else?
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome, and I do have cards with me,
Thank you.
if anybody is interested.
I love cards. Everything's good.
Thank you very much for having me.
I want to
appreciate
thank you,
the
John, for
opportunity.
making your presentation. I thank you for putting all these figures together and bringing it to the board. Thank you very much. And I just want to give one more opportunity to the citizens, if anybody has any questions. If not, yes,
Congratulations.
I'd like a question for Lee.
Thank you.
Well,
I'm gonna-
you can do it
Can I do it without
without
you
me,
here?
I don't want to be involved
you sure?
in statements from bidders.
Okay,
Thank you, John.
thank you, John. You're still on record, so the public will hear your statement, so
Okay.
if you,
Well, I guess my statement, I guess, would be a question now, these,
go right ahead.
when originally, Michael Mulray from Waste Solutions, when we submitted our proposals or IFPs, it was in a strict format on our website, and you weren't really allowed to deviate from that website without making notes to what exactly you were bidding on. So when you look at the notes and you see under Waste Solutions, it said pricing includes disposal costs for municipal and school buildings estimated to reduce disposal by 35,000 or 500 tons per year due to the fact that we're going to use a commercial vehicle to collect this waste. The reason why we bid on a commercial truck was because some buildings only get picked up once a week. So to send a specific truck into the community and just pick up one school, go to the dump, empty out one school, it's not cost effective for both us or the community. So when you look at our bid number and you see the 289, the intent here was the town's going to save $35,000 in disposal costs. So our bid would actually be the low bidder at 254, taking into consideration the fact that instead of the town paying for the disposal of the municipal buildings and the school buildings, our bid included Waste Solutions paying for that disposal. So the town would have seen a savings of $35,000. But it was hard to put that into a strict line item bid.
I would highly encourage you to put that clear statement, which you just made to us and on camera, directly to the town manager immediately. Like first thing, I don't know that. I just got this the other day, so I didn't know anything about that, and nor did I see anything. I've seen this. This is the paperwork I've seen, and the town manager has shared this information with us. I would say to you that you need to get that in front of his nose as quickly as possible. Okay? I mean, that's my opinion as the chairman of the Board of Health today, that if you're stating that the fact that the figures on your sheet are not accurate, and you're saying there's a discrepancy that can be handled by an explanation of your bid request as you bidded it, I think that needs to be, correct me if I'm wrong, anyone, but I think that needs to be explained right away, immediately to the town manager. Go right ahead. If you have more questions, go ahead.
I do think, though, that I thought there was a stipulation in the bid with no questions or anything after a certain date. I'm not sure.
Oh, no, this was put in the bid. It says it right here.
I think this is just a clarification, correct me if I'm wrong, that's a clarification of what is the interpretation of what there.
It wasn't calculated correctly.
Okay, and I think that's important. You are on record of putting that out, okay? I just want to make sure you know that. That's on tape, and my recommendation is that you immediately get that presented to the town manager. I think that's a very important statement. that you just presented to us. So I think that's very important that that gets processed to the town
We're
manager.
having a problem with his computer, so maybe it was a computer error.
I don't know.
So it's important to let him know.
Well, for each line item, for each bid item, there was a note that you could make. I know we made notes in every single line item, but only one note got printed for each hauler.
Again,
So it's an
That's
expense.
quite a glitch.
Yeah, it's not inclusive.
there are all is present. Does anyone else have, do you have any other questions, gentlemen?
Well, other than the fact that, because of the fact that when you take that 35,000 and puts us neck and neck, it makes us the low bidder and puts the second bidder close by, now you're getting into the situation of, you've selected a disposal site that is further than what the IFP originally asked for.
Okay.
Which opens up the opportunity to negotiate a rate to get there.
And I believe the town manager said that was a negotiation he would have to have.
He said he would negotiate only with the low bidder. But in order to have a comparison, I would suggest maybe, now that the low bidders are so close, that you look at having both the low bidders discuss what the additional cost would be, because as if I were the first bidder, looking at what the second bidder's number was, I can tell you what my fuel surcharge would be if that was the way I wanted to calculate it.
Okay.
Because I know what the savings is to the town, so I know I just come directly below that. So I think that if you had two people bidding on it, or two people negotiating that number, it may become more favorable for the community.
And I'm not gonna, that's a positive statement that, again, if I was making a decision here, would be meaningful to me, but I'm not. I really believe you need to get that in front of his eyes as quickly as possible, either an email or a hand-delivered letter tomorrow morning at, what's the time office open?
8:30.
8:30.
We were hoping to do that tonight.
I don't have control of his office. I don't know if he would accept it tonight. But he is here, he's present right now. I'm not saying you have no right to just remove yourself and go try to do that right now. I don't have an answer to that question. It's his decision to open up that door.
I understand what you're saying. Typically, in these types of environments, the three lowest bidders are brought in, their proposals are discussed, correctly.
And I would have said to you 3 years ago, when I was making that decision as the first-year member of the Board of Health, and my first inkling was I'd be sitting with you making discussion. But when the town manager removed me from that position abruptly, I had no more involvement in making those calls. And I wanted to make that clear tonight, that again, because the town manager now is making the fiscal calls, he is the person you need to make that presentation to. And I just want to acknowledge Troop Waste is here. Are you also with Troop Waste, sir? If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I don't want to shut you out if you have more questions. And what I'm saying to them, I'm saying to you. If there's anything that a bidder present tonight has that is not clarified in this presentation, I urge you to get in front of the town manager at your earliest possible convenience, whether it's an email or in person tomorrow morning, and discuss that with him, because I know, I apologize. We, as the Board of Health, no longer have that say. And so if you have information that pertains to this bid that you feel needs to be addressed, I would encourage you to do that. I don't know what I can't read his mind, and I can't read what, it's been clear to me in an email that he will make the final decision sometime this week. That's all I know. And that's public record, because that's a documented email. So I'm not making that up, it's a public record, anyone can see that. I can believe that was sent out as part of his email, so he'll make that decision. Yes, please.
May I ask another question?
You may.
Does the contract designate CMAS as the disposal area? Okay, so, yeah, I didn't think so. So it was up to the hauler to come up with the selected?
The bids asked us for a disposal number, as well as the town also solicited disposal numbers from end sites. And the town was-
Right. And as far as the transportation to the site, that was...
Well, the question was brought up because we had to base our phone numbers on where we were going to dump.
Right.
And I believe in the answer session, he said that if it is further away, that you use a 30-mile radius, then we would be allowed to discuss pricing options or fuel surcharge options.
It's a good approach.
I mean, that's what he clarified in this. Are there any other questions about the waste contract that need to be addressed? Tom?
Well, who is a resident call now if they have a problem with the trash? Are still-
They call the Board of Health. The Board of Health, it's still, we don't select the contractor or the vendor, we don't make the financial decisions. After that, it all falls on the Board of Health to administer and manage and work with the companies that are selected by the town to do the trash. I will say that the president of the company, the vice president, or the treasurer, whatever your roles are, have made themselves cell phone, personal phone. We've had discussions middle of the street. They've made themselves very handily to the Board of Health at any moment in time when we had questions. So I would anticipate that any vendor, whether it's the existing vendor or a new vendor, would have that same working relationship. But to answer your question, Tom, is that the citizens of the town will always comment their comments with trash through the Board of Health. You just heard from the town manager saying that in this transfer of ways of doing trash, he'd be willing to sit down, because he has an open door policy, and discuss that issue with any citizen and/or with Sharon. Sharon is always available every day of the week, and our office is open from 8:30 to when?
4:30.
4:30,
Or longer.
Monday through Friday or longer, and
Until
on
Friday?
Fridays till 12 noon.
4:30 on Friday?
So that's how the citizens communicate their issues with trash.
Closed at 12:30.
Are there any other questions on trash? If not, I'm gonna take a 2-minute recess to readjust, and then we'll answer the rest of
Just
the.
mention that the town office is closed at 12:30 on Fridays.
Well, I said the office was 12 noon, I gave you a half-hour break.
Okay.
The office is open until 12:30 on Friday. We're gonna take a 2-minute recess, and then we'll get back onto the Board of Health agenda. Thank you very much, everyone. The mic is on, and the camera is on while we're doing this.
Good, how are you? You want my card? Can I use it? Yeah.
There's a bubble, isn't there a bubble right down there?
Yeah, yeah.
This system is the way everything's supposed to go.
I mean, yeah, and one thing I didn't say that I had wanted to say is that the limited funding DEP has, they put it into these programs. Asia, of course, is their high priority because it reduces trash the most, increases recycling, but second is,
Everything provided in the codes,
yeah.
because people in our experience, the commercial side, residents, what we do, give it, make it easy, they'll do it.
And a single stream too.
Yeah, single stream, big barrel, 30,
Don't give up.
But $10 to $15 an hour is a great deal.
Yeah, and I do hope they come up with the middle of the line figure, they're talking 1250 or maybe even 13, for the 2 barrel limit, which this will qualify as. Yeah.
Yeah, they can build and listen.
Yeah, and then the hauler, I think, or the contractor will be putting them together and delivering them. I have 3 contracts I'm reviewing, so it's done.
Who they purchase it through, that fee is in there.
Well, if the town is.
Because there is no contractor that has that capability. If you buy 8,000 totes from Cascade, manufacturers or toter or auto, they're adding in $1, $2, $3 per tote for assembly and distribution. You get a CD for all the houses with the circle and so on. So that, they have that built cost because, no one has that capability.
Yeah, I had.
Yeah. It's always the manufacturer.
In the weighing of the totes on
That's
on the field, that's a recycle thing,
Well, it's,
I thought I heard that, but maybe I didn't.
Yeah.
I did, okay. All right, and then it can change.
There's, the automated system, you can add that on feature. So anything else specific contracts.
I think I did read in small letters, unless I'm thinking because I'm working in Plymouth and East Bridgewater as well. What? It's, have you interested in that one?
No. Yeah, this is our backyard. We're. Yeah, no, that's very interesting.
Yeah, but it's a big town. March 27th. Yeah, they had a pre-bid, but it was mandatory. But I finally finished reading through that one today. He's looking for innovative, he's looking for creativity. You know JB, the DPW director, he's a cool guy.
How's Evans?
The pre-bid was pretty funny. I heard some of the funniest questions I've ever had.
Here we are again, doing it again.
Oh, I was telling them about Plymouth's pre-bid for their, did you hear about it?
Yeah.
Somebody asked,
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to mention names. No, actually, do you have Americans? I want to know if all of you have Americans. And I said, do you mean?
Citizens,
Oh my gosh. Does it have me in the scope? And I said, do you mean English?
YouTube it, because I want to start.
Do you mean English speaking employees? Oh yeah, that's what we meant. And then I says, I have girls. Is it okay if I have girls working for me? I'm not saying it. And I have girls. I have girls.
He does.
So he calls them girls. And I said, do you mean women? I laugh. This is a funny one.
You got the process for it? Yeah, we're talking about that. What's that? That wasn't.
I know you did. I know.
Change the system. And at the time, the recycling was awful.
Oh, it's horrible.
So we were, we had some number on it.
Right.
Like people would see
The option, right.
on the waste.
I hear you.
Yeah, they're paying $80 a ton right now.
I know.
You know, every time goes by, that's at least 20% of 50%.
Maybe one year. Coming up. Can you tell me the difference? What's where we staying? Is it the same?
I knew.
But you don't manage your own manager anymore. It's just a
Absolutely.
I want to thank you for your bid. Yep. I have not seen.
All right, that's what she
Again, if I had any say in this.
We need cheerleaders.
I would say that you need to let John know if you have, if there's any discrepancies or any issues in the line items, they don't need to talk.
Yeah, no, we're gonna.
And I would ask that you would, if there are any file changes, sit down.
Yeah, and girls, and if it is a landfill, is it closed at this point? Is it official? Oh. Yeah. So
I have not taken those decisions. I will administer, I will work with you.
I will,
Yes, like
I was a
it. I'll be working with that one. I'm just for the final 3 years that you're working with me. So, I'll be a presence in some issue. That means the decision. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, appreciate the opportunity.
Talk about booster points too someday.
We need to get that done too.
It is.
Hi, Margie.
Hi.
You weren't supposed to be. It wasn't you and me doing this.
No, I don't mean us. I don't everybody else.
No, that I don't know. I'm gonna be here and honest with you. Open meeting number 1, it's gonna be in a week. I know Christine was my back home. known for that. She was the one who told me to shut up every time if I'm supposed to shut up. And I've relied on her to do that. I need to become more aware of what it's on. So, I don't know. Can we round up Marlene if we can?
All right, I guess I'll sit
Sharon?
down on the compost discussion.
Sharon's out talking to the town manager.
You're not gonna sit down on the compost discussion? I thought you were the compost queen.
I'm sorry. I'm like shoving that in your face.
I was here till 9 last night.
All right, you want one of those?
Can we get a meeting going with the other two?
Yeah, I know.
Because I want to get the meeting going.
So do I.
Thank you for coming tonight. I appreciate your attendance and your information.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yes, thank you.
Clarifying the
There were a few things
record.
I wanted to mention, but I didn't, but next time.
You clarified some things that.
Did you want to clarify anything before we started?
Well, I just wanted to let you all know that with what limited funding DEP has,
Yeah.
they go for the big bang items, the items that are really gonna reduce.
So it's a decision-making process at the state level.
It is, but just for the wheel carts to be part of the program, that demonstrates that they know it works.
Okay. That's good. It's good to know.
It's trash limit, basically.
All right.
I think the tape just went off.
Is it go off?
Why are we
No, it's still going.
taping and
Video.
videoing? It seems a little redundant.
Yeah, well, it's because I believe in backup.
Yeah, and
Oh.
I wanted to bring that up in
I
old
just
and new
wanted to mention,
business.
Yeah.
Arlene had to leave.
Oh,
Okay.
she had to leave, she didn't tell us.
Yeah, no, that's why she went
Right.
until,
Arlene had to step away. She had some personal matters to take care of, so we'll finish the meeting on our own. But let's continue on with discussion after. And the discussion now pertains to the noise regs. Or do you want to, Sharon, do you want to go over your report first?
well, I don't know if anyone has any questions regarding my report.
Well, we just got it tonight,
Let's
so
review it.
is there any highlighted items in that report that we should know about?
Well, I've done quite a few food inspections over the last couple of weeks. I did have an emergency on Thursday afternoon that's actually been taken care of. The fire department called me out. They were doing some construction work at St. Bridget's Food Pantry, and last Thursday was a very windy day, and wind gusts went right through the window that they were working on to enlarge for the conveyor belt, and there was like a dust storm created in the food pantry, and I had to end up closing the food pantry temporarily so they could do some cleanup work, but it was reopened this morning.
Okay,
Other than that, there was an abandoned building over on Chestnut Street that sits way back from the road that I have been working with the owner on and actually conducted a site visit with her this past Saturday. She lives in Hyde Park and came down, and they filled in an abandoned well, and they knocked the buildings around this abandoned house down and cleaned up tremendous amount of debris, so that was very good. There are, as you can see, several housing cases I'm working on, but I'm in contact with each of the owners, and we're trying to make progress either in court or out of court. But if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask me anything.
the only question I have for you is how are you doing with your extra hours, and
Well, I took last Friday off,
there you go, that's a good start.
and I'm planning to take this Friday off. I'm planning to take the last week of March off, and I will talk to Janice McCarthy of Rockland just to cover
Okay,
for me, and I'm trying to get it down, but I did take this past Friday off.
okay, and,
I have a question, but it might come under old and new business, about your comp time, and getting those meeting tapes. So if you have any extra time you could devote to me?
Yeah, I can talk about that with
Yeah.
you. Yeah, sure.
Well, so that I can get up to the town
Oh,
office.
sure. You meaning for me to stay?
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll make a
Okay,
time with
great.
you.
Thank you.
Sure, Barbie.
thank you very much for doing that, Sharon,
Yeah.
and Margie will get that responded, get that
Sure.
handled, how we can. Are there any litigation issues currently pending?
Yes.
In front of the Board of Health?
6466 Whale Street, which is the first housing notation, is in court.
Yeah,
It was supposed to be heard February 29th, but the sheriff called me and said that the defendant had to take a month's absence, so I'm waiting for a court date from the sheriff again to let me know what the court date is going to be with the court. And the other one, there's two other ones I'm working, actually three, I'm sorry. 8385 Monroe Street has been continued to June 5th based on exterior housing code violations. This inspection was brought to me by the fire department based on a fire that had occurred last fall. 11 Pearl Street is actually going to be in court tomorrow again. This is a house that had, if you read my statement, the gentleman had children living there under the age of 6 with previous housing and lead paint violations. The tenant had moved out. He had signed a no occupancy agreement with me on March 24th, and I checked with the Department of Public Health Childhood Lead Paint Prevention Program, who wanted me to update them on outstanding lead paint violations. I happened to check this house on March 8th, I believe, February 8th, and found out that he had re-rented this house with children living there under the age of 6 and didn't correct the lead paint violations or the previous housing code violations. He has corrected the lead paint violations currently and is working on correcting the remaining housing code violations. The only other one that I have sort of in a stayed place in court is 701 Washington Street, that the gentleman is currently working on completing his lead paint violations, but there is no one living in the unit that the lead paint was cited in.
okay.
I have collected, except for 6466 Whale Street, because I haven't had a chance to go back into court, but every case thus far that has gone civilly to court, I have collected back the sheriff's processing fees for the town.
Well, thank you very much for doing that. That covers any cost the town would have incurred in going to court, as far as covering the cost of having the sheriff deliver the service of the warrants. So,
Yes.
I appreciate that effort.
And I did obtain an $8,000 court fine for a previous housing case based on the owner being found in contempt of court, and that basically covered, I believe, just about the entire legal bill for that particular case.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have we had any red line items on your inspections recently? Anything serious out there? Not that we need to mention any establishment, but have we had any serious violations?
No, for food
For
code,
food
no.
code?
I would say I have seen a tremendous
Improvement?
Improvement, because I think they know
Good word.
I'm coming. I think they're used to the pattern, plus they know I come every 6 months.
Okay.
And no, I've been very pleased with, otherwise you folks would have heard, but I've
Okay.
been very pleased with what I've seen out there in 2 years.
Are there any questions from the board members to Sharon?
I just have a quick question.
Sure.
What is the process briefly? Do you have like a checklist that you go over of different things?
For what-
For the food and,
There's a food code regulation.
so you just kind of go over that? each
Yes,
time?
yes. There's an inspection sheet that I use, but based on the amount of years I've done it, I have it in my head of what time and temperatures and certain things I have to
Right,
look at. But it's based on the minimum standards for food protection that's set by the state and federal codes.
Okay.
I'd like to go over the compost site opening next. I know we're jumping around the agenda, but I think the compost site opening is important.
We have had many calls recently from residents wanting to know when it was going to open.
That's because the weather's kind of so nice.
And then I did find out from our 4 people that ran it last year, they are willing to run it this year again, which is great. And thank you, Lorraine.
So, did you have an opening date in mind?
No, I was going to ask you folks what you would like to.
When did we open last year? Did we open in March?
March 26th.
We did open the last week in March.
Can
Well, certainly.
I just say one thing?
Yes.
Can you make sure it's open the weekend of Abington Cares for the Earth Day?
I don't know, when is that?
Because it was the
When's
only
that?
Saturday in April last year that it wasn't officially
When
open.
is it, when is that?
It's April 28th.
Okay, so it has to be open April 28th.
So please, at least April 28th.
Okay.
All right, so, Does any board member have any recommendations for when we want to open up the town Groveland Street to the public on a Saturday morning?
Well, can I make a comment on
You sure can.
how we did it last year?
Yeah.
Our goal was to be every weekend last year, and then...
Except we did limit it over the summer, because we knew we wanted to shorten it up so we could go longer in the fall and the spring.
I understand that, but I think we need to have the dates laid out before it opens the first date and keep it that way, because a lot of people were upset because the dates kept seeming to change.
Yeah.
Or bless Lorraine's activities in updating the outside sign, but it got to be confusing.
Well, I was told every last, and that's what I went by, and then when...
No, I'm just saying that it got to a point
I
where
another one.
it got confusing to drive by, so if we could just be a little clearer for the townspeople.
One of the things I was trying to keep, and I guess they're a little bit more flexible, they have a certain amount of hours, I guess, that they can work.
I understand that.
Yeah, and I was trying to work with that, but I guess they're pretty open about if
The
it goes over a little
volunteers.
bit, yeah.
We are.
That's what I was told.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Lorraine, but don't you get a abatement?
Yeah,
For doing
we're
that work
supposed to
then?
put in like 40-something hours.
It's
Yeah.
60-something, I believe, 60-something hours.
Didn't they increase that last year? I thought they increased it
Yeah, I
last year.
thought there was a limit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to be really careful about that
That's why I
because
was
we don't
trying
want to come up short in the end. But my point is can we be a little more consistent this year? Have a list out the beginning of the year, no, adding dates on the signs.
So do you want to do it a specific date, or like the last blah, 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 or how do you want to do it?
Well, I think we'd need to do the math. If we do have a restriction on how many hours,
Yes, we
That's
do.
true.
Okay.
Yeah, we
all
do.
right. So
And
we need to
and we
know.
have 2 members every Saturday, so that means that we're doing dual hours every Saturday that they're open,
But
correct?
I think
Thank you.
maybe based on what we did last year, we can come up with a cleaner schedule for people to understand.
Duly noted, Terry. We'll come up with a cleaner schedule.
Re-sticker it.
Well, it's really important because people do like that compost site. I mean, when we opened it up for the Christmas trees, people were excited. Can I bring down leaves?
Unfortunately, we let them do it, so.
But we had them push them way
No,
up
we
to
had,
the top.
we, at that last day of Christmas tree, we had 14 collections of leaves that day, so, including 2 trailer loads, which was, they just kind of like had some ice on them and some rain on them and 2 giant tarps, and I helped them pull the tarp off, so. All right, so we need to select an hour. The last Saturday in March is the 31st this year. So if we were open in March last year,
Yes.
Um,
Do it again this
then
year.
I would propose that we open up March 31st as our first. I don't have a final schedule yet. I think we need to work, Sharon, with the number of hours over the number of weekends available and make some decisions about that. I think we will be a little thinner during the summer because we were requested by a number of citizens to be open later in the fall.
Yes.
So, and the fact that the next contract includes the yard waste collection twice a year and a Christmas tree collection, which goes to there also. Although Terry was kind enough to take the lead on the Christmas tree recycling, and I came up a couple of times out of the 3 or 4 times we were up there.
Bless you.
We had a wonderful time in the snow the last day.
Yes, we
as
did.
As a blizzard came through. So, not that we got a lot of snow to complain about, because we had 2 beautiful days to drop
we
Christmas
got
trees
one.
off. But we got one.
That's my
And we got one and we had an accident right outside the gate. Somebody wiped out right outside the gate, coming to the scene, so.
Could I just mention one thing?
You can mention anything you want, Sharon.
Terry, just,
But I'm sorry, just before I forget, 'cause
Okay.
I'm notorious for that. We have a meeting before the 31st?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so maybe we could go over the schedule then?
yes.
That's all I
okay.
wanted to say.
I can put some together and we can look at it, okay?
April 28th, open.
I got it down, My question is, you had talked, or had you talked to Mr. Eddy before?
Mr. Eddy?
The gentleman, I thought that was his last name, that was gonna take free compost away?
Yeah, take that
Because one of
pile.
the things that they were talking about is the piles are getting,
Right,
yeah.
right.
Has he done anything? I just didn't.
I haven't contacted him
Okay.
since, I spoke with the father,
Okay,
and his son was supposed to get in contact with me. I was actually thinking about contacting
thank
him
you.
myself,
That's
so
all I
I'll do
wanted, I
that.
just didn't know what had
I'll
happened.
follow up on
Okay, thank you.
If they're not, I just want to put it out to the board, what I'd like to do is to hire a front-end loader for a day, if he's not going to take anything away, and move the farthest pile back, move the far left pile over behind the current existing fresh leaf pile, and move all the front lusty pile way over to the left and start a new row there to begin the recycling effort this year, because we could add the compost from the spring recycling this year, right with that stuff there, so it'll all be there. When and if we get funded for the budget to grind and turn, that whole thing would be ground and turn after we have the season open and we got an initial start of that next drop-off. Before we get into that too far, I'd like to get all of that turned at least once there, and then decide what we're gonna do with the other stuff, how we're gonna deal with it. But it's been made known to us that the worst-case scenario there is if we turn it over a 2-year period of time and store it, we could use it as capping. And since the town has the dealing with that landfill for capping purposes, it's free cover, and we might as well take advantage of it if it's there, if no one else is gonna take advantage of it. So we gotta find a safe area to store it and pile it up high and save it for the capping.
Do we have money to do that? Is that
Well,
gonna be an issue?
I want to point out, that's the good news. I think that, given the fact that this board acted a year ago to make some changes to trash, that we have been very successful, except for the initial hiccup month of February of last year. We have slowly seen a steadily decrease in the total tonnage in the town every single month. And I'm pleased to report, last month was even a bigger bite for us in decrease.
Yeah.
And I am saying to you that the board has been approached to pay a previous year's bill with our current budget, even though our current budget was slashed. We'll be able to pay that bill, and right now, if all things operate correctly, we still will turn money back to the town in May or June, which means after 7 years of having our budget slashed and yet still trying to do our job correctly, we have reached a point where we've got to the point where we can turn money back to the town and not go to the April spring meeting and say, could you just give us another 38 or 48 or 50 to 68 or $78,000 to cover our bills? Last year, although it was a little edgy because the town manager was changing the way we were doing our budget, some money was turned back that we could have used to pay our bill, we just weren't alert to it properly. This year, we're being a lot more offensive-minded. Terry Mays and Sharon and I have looked at the figures. Arlene is doing a great job in that chart that she sends out to us, that we can estimate or guesstimate sometime in the month of May where we will be in the month of June, so that if we felt we were going to be short, we could get to that area of the town finance group where they swap money in and out if necessary to allow us to do that. However, this year, if the figures continue to go the way they're going, we won't have to do an interdepartmental transfer. We'll be giving other departments money to pay their bills, which will be a very good success story for the Board of Health.
Even at the highest month thus far, we would still be fine. Unless there's a tremendous occurrence, we will be fine. And if you saw the last email I sent out with the February's trash figures, I actually deducted the money that we need to owe for this previous trash bill, and it's still okay.
I'm very excited with our success story with the Abington's trash money tonnage. We have put a lot of hard work into that program. Lorraine, God bless your soul, you're out there doing the field work for us, and everybody knows your name, which is a good thing as far as I'm concerned. To let them know that we're not doing anything wrong, we're just out there to inform, and we're giving the town residents a face-to-face, someone in the street face-to-face, which is why we as a board made the decision to fund it again next year. It's in our budget. We'll see what happens with the budgets, but we did budget again for the successful event of having a trash, whatever we want to call them, maintainer, compliance officer, enforcer, to go forward. I think she's done a wonderful job. She continues to do a wonderful job, and my reason for keeping it in is I would like to see her continue to work with either the current trash vendor or the new trash vendor in implementing this new process, which in all accounts looks like it's going to help the town. And it may help Lorraine too, because it may make her life a little simpler about what's happening with all these barrels and bags and stuff like that. But maybe not. I can't say it's all going to be positive. However, on that note, I'm just pleased to report a continual reduction for over 11 months of the total tonnage this town has put back to the landfill or to wherever we're taking it. And I think that's a huge success story based on this board's taking action last year. And I commend the entire board for the action we took last year. It's a very successful. We will, to cover the event we just discussed, we will open March 31st for the first weekend for the Groveland Street site opening. We will determine a schedule based on the hours available by the volunteers and the number of weekends we can be open, so that we'll max that out as best we can. I have offered to man it myself if we have to go out later on into the fall if we exhaust that, to sit up there for myself for a couple of weekends, just to make sure we make it available to the citizens of the town as much as possible. So,
I'm with you on that, Bob.
thank you. Do I have a third?
Yes.
But, I mean, that's our part. That's the part we can show the town that we're vested in that process also. I just want to point out that the landfill continues to be an issue in this town. There will be a need to cap that eventually, or recap it, whatever you want to use the word. We will have to deal with that. And it's also in the new trash contract that the vendor, whoever that may be, will be bringing yard waste and Christmas trees to that site. This year, we had a very successful program collecting the Christmas trees. Terry, you want to just give us a little bit about the success the high school had?
Well, I'm kind of disappointed in the contract that that they'll be picking up the Christmas trees, because I saw the Ultimate Frisbee, is that Ultimate Frisbee team come together. These young men were just wonderful in the amount of trees that they brought back each week and scheduling, and they were able to raise money for their sport. Their sport is not covered in the high school sports because it's a fairly new one, so they really, they did a great job. They were wonderful, cooperative, polite, and I was hoping to see them next year.
Well, we
Maybe so can.
We did have a success story there. Tonight's primary option was to discuss noise regs. I hope you all got to see my Word document from a couple of weeks ago about my comments. The noise regulation in the town of Abington has not been updated in several years. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And it's time that we update the noise regs in this town. Regulations in this town are not the simplest things in the world to do, as Sharon will remind me of constantly, but that is a responsibility that we have. This one, amongst any of them, has a valid importance because it hasn't been updated in a long period of time. So it's the correct time to start approaching, looking at the noise reg and modifying it to the best of our ability. So although the time tonight is not extensive, if anyone on the board has any comments about my comments or has additional comments, I urge them now to speak up. If they have any input, please mention it. So if Terry or Margie have any comments from what you read?
I don't have anything that I remember specifically. I don't have yours in front of me, but I did read them. I'm wondering about motorcycles and cars in residential areas. Is there already restrictions on that in Abington?
Well, there is a restriction that you can't sit in your driveway and idle forever.
Well, what about going up and down the street with the loud,
Because it's a variable, because it's there and it's gone, it's very hard to, well, measure number one, or even enforce number two.
So it has to be measurable.
I believe a violation or a fine has to be measurable. Correct me if I'm wrong? That's correct. So,
Because that's the only way you could tell.
that's the only way we could tell it was in violation.
Yes.
Yeah, because I have some of the, well, I have the Boston, Mass ones, but I just wasn't sure if, any of those applied to Abington.
The whole point is we can add in of other ones that you see that other cities and towns have.
Oh, we can,
Oh,
okay.
yes, that's part of why we want to revise
Yeah.
these. Either make some more specific than what we have already,
Okay.
or I think what might be a good idea is to possibly
Go ahead.
read through what you folks want to think about adding in.
Okay.
Send them to me, and then I will put together, I guess, at least a draft of a new document, and then we can look at that and see if we want additional changes. I do think a lot of Bob's comments are very good, though. Yeah, which I can add in also.
How
But if
would
you
we measure, Sharon?
you have a noise meter. And
Do
it's-
we have one, or you have to hire someone to do that?
Well, no, there's two options right now currently, that I can go out and take noise measurements, or the person is the possible violator, we can ask him to hire someone to take noise measurements. The machine that I currently have was given through a grant from Emergency Preparedness, which isn't quite the noise meter I really like. The one that I have used in the past is through DEP. It's a Quest, is a brand name, and it's much easier to read, but it's expensive. But I think if we can try to get these tightened up and more specific, and part of, I think, one of the things that Bob and I talked about is to really look at the whole piece where commercial and residential connect.
Good segue.
Because that's where we have so many red flags come up of the complaints. And that's one of the things I really want to work on getting really tight. Yeah.
In saying that, though, in reading other communities, we have to be very careful when we have commercial property adjoining private property and what we're going to put in our regulation. We want to make sure we're fair, firm, and most of all, as honest as possible about what we can and say or interpret what the rights are of the commercial property and what the rights are of the residential property. I think it's really important that we address that as exactly as possible to the best of our ability. And the reason why I say that is because whatever we decide and whatever we send to get clarification from the lawyers and then get approval for and becomes our regulation, it becomes our responsibility to enforce it. And so we want to make sure that we all understand what those levels mean, what our statements mean in this document. So it's not something we can simply, put a warm form together and say it's okay.
Yeah.
I really think it's nice to say that each member of the board would have a good understanding of what we're saying when we say what we say. And what I mean, it's not enough to say there's definitions of what a street is, what a truck is, what a thing is. It's to say that if the decimal says 10 decibel meters, and the level reading when the complainer says it was 15.3, and it was against the commercial property, to be taken into consideration all commercial properties, what type of potential could a resident buying a piece of property, abutting a commercial property, anticipate being normal versus abnormal? Abnormal might be at 3 o'clock in the morning on Sunday morning, having a truck idling for all night long. That may be a better definition of saying, than just simply saying there was a noise made at 2:15.
So we want it specific and measurable.
It's got to be measurable and it's got to be specific. And one of the points that I pointed out in my email is what I'd like the resident to do is to take ownership of the violation by asking them that when they call the police, because they generally make the complaint to the police first.
Right.
The police do respond. When the police respond, there is a report. And I am going to ask that the residents get a copy of that report when they file the complaint with the Board of Health. I'm not preventing the resident from calling the Board of Health.
Right.
But I'm asking the resident to take ownership of the complaint, because if we have to go forward, we need the participation of the complainer as well as the complainee,
In the history.
and the history of it. So if it's documented, I'm asking that the complainer actually document by having a copy of that report from the police department when they file it with the Board of Health. So that the health agent actually has something to go on and doesn't have to go tracing all over the place to get additional information. So that's a consideration I'm asking the board to consider when we go through the regulation and adding that to the regulation.
So are we definitively going to do this next?
We're going to try.
Keep going.
It is a lot of work, because you really.
It may not just happen in one meeting. It may happen over a couple of meetings between now. I'd like to say we should have this in effect, hopefully, or to the lawyers, hopefully, by May or June.
Okay.
I'd like to say that we could have a generic form and then a more refined form, and then what we would call our finalized version, that I believe we would like to have then the town lawyers validate that it's in proper language, orderly format, whatever. And once we get there okay, that we would have a vote.
And then we'd have to, a public hearing.
We have to have a public hearing so that the public has the right to come in and comment on the proposed regulation, and then have a vote by the board to accept that regulation. And then that would then become administered within the time frame the board regulated, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever the date would be, that's when it becomes, and that would be the new reg for the town, for noise.
And so next agenda, we'll put that on a priority list?
Yeah, if you send me your comments and suggestions, I'll put it together in a draft form.
Okay.
To present as at least draft one.
That's okay.
One
So
of the,
send before, when is our next meeting?
In 2 weeks?
well, it's either, I believe.
next week.
It's
Next
either-
week.
We can
Monday.
either do next.
Oh, it is?
Or we could do the following Monday. It depends on what you folks want. I just had a quick question. Even the commercial residential zoning numbers don't correspond
To the commercial residential zones.
to the commercial residential zones that Abington has with what's in here.
Okay,
So
good.
that's one of the things we've got to change also.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Because this new zoning map went in just a few years ago.
Yeah.
And our noise regs haven't changed. And my question would be, are these other type of new areas even have any noise regs examples that we could look at? For example, like the technology business. That, I don't know if that zone has ever existed before, and how would you rate noise in a technology business?
Well, you're going to have to rely on either another, like the city of Boston's reg on that issue.
Right.
And we'll just adopt that as part of our regulation.
Okay.
Which would make it easier and cleaner and more flow logical with
Okay.
other communities and what they're doing. But it's important to me that the two tables in our current regulation be clearly defined and what their meaning is behind it, and that at least we understand what a decimal level reading for a zone 40 versus a zone R11 versus whatever. I mean, I'm not asking you to become assessors and whatever, but at least we have, no, I think you need to have a common ground that if you're living on Orange Street, or you're living on Leverett Terrace, and you're abutting a zone
Right.
53, which is 100% commercial, that zone 53 is allowed to have a larger decimal because they're a commercial zone. And anyone buying property would understand that if you're abutting a tractor-trailer company, you can anticipate tractor-trailers idling on the property.
Well, my concern would be for the people who have been living in this town all this time and then to have their area changed in a zone. So this is who I'm thinking about when we're talking about noise regs. These are residents that are no longer necessarily in a residential zone.
But a lot of times, the zoning reg changes in this town have not been warranted through all the associated boards to make sure they had input before the decisions were made. So I agree with you that that's important, which is why I said to you, before, it's really important that we buy into what we're saying when we're saying it. As far as when we say on table 1, chart 1, the residential decimal should be no larger than 10 decibels or 50 decibels or whatever.
Yeah. It's 10 during the daytime, 5 at night. Right?
But if it's abutting a zone 11, maybe that needs to be more like the city of Boston, which is a higher level, day and night. And day and night is defined differently in different communities. Some people use sunset, sunrise, some people use a time of day. You know, we just got to make some decisions on when you think is the most appropriate. When do we say the day is over and the night begins? Is it 11 o'clock? Is it 7 o'clock? You know, those are decisions that we have to make as part of these regs. So please, send your inputs. I'd like to not have a meeting next week, if at all possible, and have a meeting on the 26th, if everyone else here is agreeable. It's a Monday.
26, I don't have any objection as it stands right now, nothing that I know of.
I'm going on recall. I think I'm available.
What's recall?
Remembering if I have anything planned for that night already.
So tentatively speaking, the next meeting for the Board of Health will be March 26th at 7 o'clock. So I'd ask that during the next week, if you can get any comments on the noise regs you have or would like to have, or even potential we would like to have, like say, I will have some comments next week on number 8 or number 12 or whatever. Please just let us know what to expect. In the meantime, we'll get working on a draft.
If you could even send them to me, I'll try to incorporate them.
Anything
Yeah.
would be helpful. We have minutes that I'm going to put off because I don't think everyone, can we vote on the minutes? Has everyone read the minutes, previous minutes?
Didn't we have some minutes that we wanted to re-review?
Yes.
Can we put up the minutes to the next meeting?
We have a bunch of them,
We have a lot of them.
so,
1-3,
found the one we
believe, is
didn't
the
have.
one that I'm going to get the tape for.
you wanted questions, you had questions on January 3rd and January 17th, Margie, so we put them off.
I believe it was the 3rd.
Okay.
Was for me. Was it you, the 17th?
I don't-
Carrie?
Yeah, I think,
It was the meeting that we had with Mr. D'Agostino.
Right, so that's
one that
put
I
off
need
for
to
now.
clarify. That
So,
was the 3rd.
December 5th is here.
So we'll do those.
If you don't have any problems, December 5th, President was myself, Arlene, Christine, Margie, Sharon. Terry, you were absent for that one?
I'm sorry, which one?
December 5th.
Yeah, I was.
Okay, that's when Stephen Wright from SEA brought the board up to date on the landfill.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I don't believe there were any changes I wanted to make, so if I could get a vote on approval of the minutes for December 5th?
You weren't here?
Yeah, I wasn't here.
Can we have that
I
without a third
don't
member?
think so. I think we need.
I think we gotta wait, so I think these will have to wait till the next,
you're gonna have to wait, because we don't.
we'll have to wait because we don't have a first and second, so we'll do that.
Carleen was still here.
Yeah, sure.
Old and new business, everyone? Anyone? Terry, old new business?
I don't know if this would fall under old or new. I think it might fall under old because I guess it's come up in discussions before at previous Board of Health meetings and other years. These little tapes that we have, I would like to, and I know this may sound like an annoyance, but I would like to motion to keep those tapes, only because of kerfuffles that can happen. And since our minutes are very basic, it's a very basic form of minutes, if people wanted to know the detail behind it, that would be in the discussions that are on the tapes. So I think for the townspeople's information and for any questions that come up in the future, I think it would behoove the Board of Health to.
Continue audio taping as well as video?
No, but if we're going to tape them, I want to keep the tapes.
I think they currently are being.
I'm pretty sure they
Oh,
are,
I
but I
see.
just wanted it
Okay.
on the record.
Yeah,
To keep
So-
them,
yeah, but I think we do.
So there's
So do
a,
we need a motion then?
so there's a, well, I'm just,
Well,
let's,
make
there's a
one.
motion to keep the tapes going forward.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and second to keep the tapes going forward. Any further discussion? Okay, the motion is to keep the old
Audio.
audio tapes of the Board of Health meetings if they are being, continue to be, and if they aren't, that they start being kept going forward. Do we have a period of time we want to keep them?
I don't know, 3 years?
That sounds reasonable. Can we do that? Do we have a place
I
to store them
think you
and
should,
date
I think you
them?
should have a set period of time. I don't think you should keep them forever. I think it's a burden on.
Is there a
residents.
place that they can be stored and kept in the office and dated?
We have them in a file cabinet right
Okay,
now.
So, for a period of 3 years.
that sounds reasonable.
So I don't want to reword your proposal, but
I would like to motion that we keep the tapes for the Board of Health meetings up to 3 years available for the townspeople.
I second that.
okay, any further to say? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes, it's unanimous. The Board of Health will keep its audio tapes for the 3-year period from the date of recording going forward. Margie, any old or new business?
Just to get that tape, so I don't know when you're available, if you have any time this week.
Why don't you tell me and I'll make myself available?
Let's plan on this week. Thursday, I have a doctor's appointment. Friday, what time are you there, till 12?
I can be there too. I was gonna take Friday off.
Okay, all right, forget that.
Because I'm promising you guys.
Wednesday?
Yeah, I mean tomorrow night?
Yeah, what time are you there till?
You tell me and I'll be there.
Let's say, I'm working from home tomorrow. All right, let's put it this way. Are you there at a certain time for lunchtime? Because I might be able to do it, you know.
Well, Mary will be also.
Okay, so, you know
Mary,
what, I'll
Mary, I have to
plan
go
on
to, I have to go to court tomorrow, so I'm never quite
That's
sure what
okay, I
time.
don't
But
need
Mary
you.
usually takes lunch from about 1:35 to 2:35. That's the only time that, I'll probably be back by then, but that's the only window that someone would be there. So
Okay,
you have,
know what
other
I'll
than
do?
that.
I'll plan on coming in the office tomorrow morning.
Okay.
It shouldn't take more than 30 minutes. If that doesn't work out, then I will call you.
Sounds fine.
And we'll
Okay.
redo it.
That works.
Yep.
Sharon, do you have anything else?
Yes, 2 comments.
Go right ahead.
All right. I ran into Sean Riley today in the parking lot, and he mentioned to me that he is trying to put together a possible event with like a picnic effect and have local restaurant folks put together some sort of temporary food sampling. And he asked me to ask the board, since we normally charge a temporary fee for a temporary food event, to waive that based on the fact that this is a, you know,
Is it for the
a
tricentennial?
tricentennial, and it's a nonprofit event. So I just wanted to bring that before the board.
Is Sean running the tricentennial?
He's part of the committee that's trying to put this together.
I would,
That sounds
I would
reasonable.
motion to waive the fee for them, only because they are doing all these events for the tri-towns.
Okay, I have a motion to waive the fee.
I'll second that.
There's a motion second to waive the fee for this one-time fundraiser for the tricentennial process by having restaurants come into town and offer their wares without having to pay a
Temporary food event.
temporary food event fee.
I am going to work
How much is that fee?
$50.
$50, so per vendor. So, any further to say? All in favor? Ayes have it. We'll have a waiver of one-time only event fee for restaurants participating in the tricentennial gala fundraiser, food tasting.
I have one other.
Part two. Sharon, part two.
Part two is, just is a letter from Arlene.
This is a letter from Arlene.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that for me or the
Yes,
board?
for the board.
For the board.
Do you know what's in that letter, Karen?
Yes, I do.
You do.
Dated March 13th, 2012. Good evening to all. I'm writing to inform the Board of Health and the Town Manager and the Town Selectmen I'm regrettably resigning from the Board of Health. Over the past year, the board has become a place of conflict and disrespect among members, which is not conducive to a functional board. I wish the board well and hoping to remain. Members can work together and do what's best for the town. I have always tried to do. Sincerely, Arlene Spalding, Abington Board of Health Vice Chair. It doesn't give a date unless it's effective today. I don't know. So it looks like Arlene is resigning from the Board of Health. I have no other new business. Is there anything else? Do I have a motion to close? Motion to adjourn? Motion adjourned and second?
Second.
Any further say? The ayes have it, the meeting is closed.
All right, thank you.
This is the end of the March 13th, 2012 Board of Health meeting. Thank you. Oh, that sucks. I got one side, which is one we all didn't, we're here.